Yep, we're live.
All right. Hello, everyone. Call the meeting to order. We have the approval of the minutes from February 16th, 2021. Do we have a motion to accept them as submitted?
I'll make the motion.
Second?
Arnie will second it.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Once again, under Executive Order 202.1, we have temporary suspended in-person public meetings. If you would like to make a public comment, you may do so by emailing the BOE at waltoncsd.org or by calling the district clerk at 607-865-4116 extension 6130. We are up to discussion items. The policy committee met earlier tonight. Does someone want to provide a report on that?
Corey.
Basically, there were a number of policies that are required as a result of the update to the Title IX policy, right? So it has expanded kind of criteria, or not criteria, but elements of like investigation upon a complaint. And it was for, I don't know, in terms of details, there were a lot of different ones. I don't know, Mike, you want to take over? I'm trying to navigate between two monitors and I can't find them. So that's why I'm looking up.
So the Title IX policy was required by law. If you recall, we pulled the sexual harassment update because we found out that it needed to be integrated. So we have the Title IX policy, we have the investigative procedures that correspond with that. The sexual harassment policy is updated with the tie-in to the Title IX policy. So that was one grouping that we reviewed today. The other item was the required gender neutral bathroom policy. And the other one was the second reading return back of the updated records retention policy. So I did that from memory, Paul, by the way.
Thank you. I'm
That's why I voted Corey. Just throwing it out there.
Would have been a good one.
Corey schooled me on it, made sure I knew what I was doing. So
Yeah.
It's still Corey.
Well done. Thank you.
Thank you. Budget workshop tomorrow night at 6 p.m. by Zoom. And then we also need to discuss the Scholastic Achievement Dinner, the format and date. Corey, do you have any additional information on that? Are they looking for?
Well, I think at this point, Dr. McDonald said it would have to be virtual.
Yeah, this was a holdover. If you remember, we pushed the decision off until March.
Till March. Mm-hmm.
And there's no change on indoor gathering. I was at a meeting today with an update with Mandy Walsh at DOH, and they're hoping that next month they're expecting and hearing that there may be some updates to some of that guidance regarding outdoor and indoor gatherings. That's what they're hoping. But as of right now, nothing has changed. So we're still at the 50 capacity limit or whatever that limit is for an indoor gathering until there's a change. So given that fact, what we talked about was, what do we want to do with it? We know we want to have it. We got to have some form. We don't want to lose it. It's such a traditional event and a wonderful event. We can put together a virtual format, or if you want to hold off for a month and see if anything comes forward next month with us being able to do it. I mean, if we had to, we could do it early June. There's nothing to say during this interesting 2021 that we couldn't do the Scholastic Achievement Dinner early June and graduation late June. We do what we can. So what are your thoughts and discussion really is what we're looking for.
Well, the thing is, I think if we're even going to think about pushing it to early June, we would still have to plan. I mean, I don't see this changing that quickly. I know the Johnson & Johnson vaccines just got approved, single dose, but I still, even after that, I think it's going to be a long time before putting a couple hundred people in a gymnasium. So, or even an auditorium or an outside format or something along the lines of what our virtual graduation was last year. I think we have to be thinking more of a virtual format. And I say that, you know, regrettably, because that it is a very nice, I mean, it's a tradition, but also it's a nice way to honor the students who, you know, really put in, you know, a good amount of work and have high achievement. And also, you know, the, our community member who we often, you know, celebrate too. So
what we could do is do this a little bit differently than what the virtual celebrations have been. The virtual celebrations have been kind of impersonal, you know, when everybody has done those. There's nothing to say that we couldn't coordinate this, bring and figure out how we're going to do it, and bring down the students and bring them into a location and recognize them and get them on video actually getting recognized, getting certificates handed to them. We could do it here, small group, capture it, put it together for the virtual so the students could get the celebration. And we could also do the, if we chose to, the community recognition could be done in a unique fashion as well. And we could discuss that at a later time. So, and then we can just put it together. So rather than doing a PowerPoint with the names and the pictures and that kind of thing, we could have that personal touch to it with these academic awards. It'll take some work, but we could do it. If you would like for us to see how, we're all about stretching it. I mean, everybody knows that. We're all about trying to get it as much to the normalcy as we can. I don't have any qualms with us being able to take some time, carve some time out, put some bleachers up, put the stands up, bring them down at a group. We know our parameters here as far as safety parameters, run the kids through a few days in a row or whatever we're going to do, and we can capture it.
I think that would be nice.
I think
Versus holding off.
my original thought was I'd love to have the thing live and hold off to the nth degree to get it live. But I really think if you jam it into graduation, it's going to take a lot of planning to make graduation happen this year. And I think it would be unfair to try to get all of that into 1 month holding out for hope. Yep. I'd rather get this. I agree with Paul. I'd rather get this done in a unique fashion, and then put all the focus on graduation when that becomes available. I think, unfortunately, that's where we are, and hopefully this is a transition into normalcy coming up.
So how about we target middle of May, sometime between now and the middle of May, and we'll go into planning mode internally? Does that sound okay?
Sounds good to me.
I like Mike's idea because I think bringing the kids down and recognizing them, handing them the award, it's just a little more personal for each one of them than, you know, trying to do it completely virtual. And then it make it easier for the parents to watch it too.
Right.
If we could, because then it could be recorded. So if somebody misses it, then they can go back in and watch it.
Right.
And we have a number of you know, people who receive those Scholastic Achievement Awards. So, I mean, having to, you know, put up like, whether it be, you know, time windows or things like that. Otherwise we have how many thumbnail pictures, and it all kind of gets lost in the minutia. So yeah, I think Mike, what you're talking about, and Chad, agree.
Okay. We'll go into planning mode. Thank you.
All righty. And Corey, the other note there about the games was just for reference of the Scholastic Achievement.
Correct.
Okay. All right. Super eval training. Did everybody get a date back to Corey or dates? I know.
You said like after the 11th, it was the last email I saw. So then, I mean, pretty much at that point, I was wide open. So.
Okay. Yeah, I think anytime what is
Well,
it?
if you could let me know if any of the dates that I shared will not work for you, that
Right.
probably would be easiest. And then Dr. McDonald and I will work it out with super eval.
For me, if we could stay within like that, I think you had the 17th, 18th, 19th, the 22nd, we go to a longer day.
Okay,
So 5:30 starts or something are going to get tighter.
so
We actually start
we-
our summers this
should we
month.
target the 17th or 18th then?
I think earlier the better would
Okay,
be a good
I
idea.
That
can't
works
do the-
for me.
I can't
do
do
it.
the 17th, but I can do the 18th.
I was gonna say
Okay.
let's St. Patrick's Day. Come on, little
maybe
respect.
the 18th
Little
won't work
respect.
either then.
No.
It's later in the day.
Yeah, thanks, Kevin.
Okay,
Does the 18th work for everyone?
Yeah, I think so.
Good by me.
Miranda, that's good with you?
that would be a Thursday evening.
All right, we'll shoot for the 18th.
Thank you.
Do you have any idea of a time?
Oh,
I think we said 6 o'clock.
I think so. All right, the last item that we have for discussion items is the O&M equipment. Dr. McDonald, were you gonna take the
Yep.
lead on this?
Yep, I will. So part of what we're working on is building 5-year plans and equipment replacement plans, and really taking a real close look at every single department. In discussion with John, and especially after that large snowstorm that we had, where if not for the unbelievable efforts of all of our individuals, from John's crew to the bus garage personnel, we wouldn't have been open. We would have lost a day, which most districts did. So after that, and keeping that in mind, John approached us in development of a concept and using the concept of a 5-year replacement type model of, if we're going to replace a piece of equipment, what are we going to surplus and what could eliminate in future replacements as far as effectiveness goes. So one of the pieces, and John's here tonight to answer questions, and John, you can correct me if I say anything, if I misspeak on anything here, but identified a tractor with a bucket, with a blower, with forks. We have forks that will hook to it, that will allow us to have a multitude of use, but allow us to especially have the ability to blow our own parking lots out in the event of a massive storm. The other issue that in conversation I discovered is that we have a need for heavier forks than a skid steer with the pallets that come in and that we unload. That's something that is definitely a need. So in doing the evaluation of equipment, the estimated value of the new tractor is 55, surplusing skid steer, the 7-foot tractor, miscellaneous attachments, for a total surplus value of 25,000. So the total cost would be, net cost would be 30,000 after surplus. In discussion, the replacement items that would not need to be replaced that would come off of our inventory are listed there as well for information. So, John, did you do a good job of capturing that?
Yes, everything is correct.
Okay.
So the idea is it's not a loader. It's like a tractor with a bucket on front.
Correct.
And it's got like PTO, so you can attach a snowblower to it. Is that snowblower in the front, or is that something you have to? I know a lot of PTO gears up in the back. You wouldn't have to run that thing in reverse, would you? Okay. And you're still gonna have to plow the parking lot. So I mean, one of the things we use the skid steer on, or like have some things for, is the sweeper or the broom attachment, right?
Yes.
So okay. So when we've got this new capital project, that's basically new parking lot, sidewalks, things like that. The snow blower and everything is going to be fine, accommodate that, just as easy on it as the sweeper attachment is.
Yes, that's one of the big reasons to get a larger tractor with a snow blower on it, because once that new parking lot gets configured, it's really to just do it with trucks and a plow. It's going to be a bear to get rid of the snow. You know, you might be able to get by a couple of storms, but then you really haven't been putting the snow anyplace in. You need something that's going to blow snow, 40 to 60 feet away, just so you could get you get quite a buildup over the winter. And the contractor that we have come in and help us, we had to come in during the big storm in December, that gets to be expensive. They treat us right, but still it's expensive. And, you never know how many bad winters we might have in a row. And it's the type of thing where a tractor can move snow with a blower and dig things out with the front end loader with a bucket on them a lot quicker and a lot less stress on the equipment than you do when you have a truck. And that was, one of the big reasons of going with it. And another thing you can, we had 4 or 5 people in working pretty much all day long from like 3:30 in the morning until 5:30 that night to get rid of all that snow. And you just have a couple of people come in and you just keep that tractor going and going, and you're going to move all that snow in 10 to 12 hours, like the 29-inch storm.
Well, the other thing, I mean, if you're going to be moving snow, you got to have a truck with a dump or a bucket on it, right? To not a bucket, but a dump box on it.
What we would do, a lot of that we could keep blowing away, like over to Townsend School. But if we did need, we have our older Ford dump truck right now that we could load snow on the back and, take and, dump someplace, like down on the fairgrounds. They let people dump down there. And that wouldn't be as much of an issue if you kept right at it and kept the snow blown back. Then you wouldn't have to truck a lot of snow. Big storms, yeah, you probably would, but snow moves a lot easier when it's freshly fallen, and you can get rid of a lot of snow in a hurry with the one tractor we looked at had an 80-inch PTO driven blower on it.
Right. Go ahead, Rhonda.
So you're speaking PTO. So this is going to be run on the back of the tractor.
No, it'd be a front mount, and you have mid-mount PTO that actually runs it.
Oh, okay.
Front.
I just have blowing snow. Where, especially at Townsend School, where can you really blow it without having obstacles, neighbors, your buildings? If you're trying to clear the parking lot itself, I mean, we really can't be putting it into the streams.
No, you can't. And there's a lot of room between the first, when you pull into to Townsend School, there's a lot of room there. You can put quite a bit of snow just off the curb towards the fence, towards that next house. You couldn't put a huge amount. You're not going to put, 5 or 6 foot snowbanks there. But, to get some there and get it out of the way, you've got room out on the playgrounds and stuff like that to blow it out that way. You could get it plowed to that corner with one of the trucks, or you could put it out there with the tractor with a loader on it and then get it blown out towards the playgrounds. And another thing, it's, you could do all the Townsend sidewalks with it too.
It'd be nice to see a piece of equipment that you could stop plowing over curbs and things like that. Snow blower, the biggest difference I see on a multi-use piece of tractor or equipment is the efficiencies you gain by the different attachments on it. One of them being a snow blower with a new parking lot configuration with curbing the way it is. taking trucks and just running it up over the curb is damageable on a curb as well as the truck itself, where the snow blower would be handy there. Bigger snows at Townsend, I think we'd be fooling ourselves if we don't think we're going to pack snow out of there. At some point, you're going to be packing snow out of there. And quite frankly, the most efficient way to do it is the contractors you have that are putting their time in, because those boxes are 30-yard boxes and they're poly-lined, so nothing sticks to it.
Right.
That's a key to moving snow is you take a solid steel box, you dump snow and it doesn't come out.
Right.
So I think the biggest benefit of a piece of equipment like this is multi-faceted piece of equipment. You have multi-uses from forks to bucket to snow blower. Those attachments are cheaper than buying pieces of equipment separately to do separate jobs. I saw you guys moving snow with a skid steer. God bless you. That's a long process. I think
Yeah.
stack that up. So, this goes a long ways towards helping that as well, but.
No, and I don't disagree. I just don't want to oversell it and make it seem like it's a replacement for having to pack snow out of there, because there are going to be large snow events.
Right.
And this isn't, I mean, a tractor like this isn't going to move all the snow we have, not to mention that, it's cheaper to, pay for those one-time events periodically. I mean, you budget for a couple because it's not, I mean, this winter's been a bear. We've had like one snow event like this in the last, each of the last couple of years, but I hope I didn't just jinx us, but I think that you've got to, by the time you start to acquire this equipment and continue to maintain it, depreciate things like that, I mean, it's sometimes cheaper just to pay somebody to come and do it. And Graydon, as you mentioned, the plowing against the sidewalks or even over the sidewalks. I think that's why we had that implement that I believe was on the skid steer. Was that the
rotary brush?
Yeah. So that was the idea. But I mean, I'm not averse to this. I just want to make sure that, that this is accommodating, because we're going to have a parking lot. It's going to be more than 40 feet wide. So when we're kicking it 40 to 60 feet, well, that's a whole pile of snow that we're then going to have to go over and kick another 40 to 60 feet with a snowblower. That's just how it works. And trying to take snow out of a pile with a snowblower, that doesn't work real well either. So I just want to make sure that, in my experience, you have to work real hard at it. But no, that's it. So I just want to make sure that we've all got an idea of how this is going to work, because I'm kind of going through it in my head. And
John, I'm assuming we're gonna have a mid-mount mower on this. You're gonna be using it for summertime use, multiple purposes, right?
Yeah, we didn't get a quote for a mid-mount mower, but yes, the Kubota and the John Deere both have the capabilities of like an 84-inch mid-mount mower, and that would be a nice piece of equipment to be able to phase in the next couple of years. And because we got the Jacobson mower, the one with the wings on it, and that it's a very good machine and everything, but it's 2003, so it's 18 years old. We've had a couple little problems with it where we've had to send it back to Moffett Turf Company, and they've worked on it, but you never know. That machine it's got some surplus value to it too. And just be nice to be able to have a tractor with a mid-mount mower and you just go with it.
What size skid steer do we have today, John?
It's a case 4 something, 30 some horse. It's, first of all, the lift capacity is only about 1,200 pounds. So, you get a pallet of paper, a pallet of salt, or whatever or unloading the fruit for the FFA kids, you got to break pallets down before you pick them up. You got to break them down to, about 1,000 pounds before you lift them. It works. It works good to a point. It's just not a near enough machine.
Okay, I understand that. My next question for you then would be, I'm assuming if this tractor's PTO'd in the front, this is a compact tractor?
Would it? Yeah,
class?
they would. Yeah, they would. It would be the upper end of a compact utility.
Now,
So John, just to clarify that, Kevin, because that was my question, and I'm glad you asked it. I'm looking at like a lawn garden tractor, mid-size, where you have all the attachments. Then
Right.
I'm talking like a mid-size tractor and then a large tractor. Where does this fall into?
It falls somewhere in between, but more towards the larger tractor. It's not a piece of equipment that a homeowner would go buy and to mow their lawn and
Okay.
do other things with it. I just, it's a 60 horse tractor. The John Deere is a 66 that we've priced. The John Deere has, I believe, 60 PTO horsepower. The Kubota has 54 PTO horsepower. So you're getting into, a decent piece of machinery there.
So if anybody wants to try it out, I own that exact piece, hypothetically.
What is it?
It's a John Deere 4066.
Corey, can you allow me to share screen, please?
And while they're working on that, John, just so, obviously the mower that we have now, I do like dedicated equipment for dedicated purposes, not necessarily, for the application we're talking about, but I just down the road, I wouldn't look to necessarily replace a dedicated mower with an 84 inch deck or something like that. I think that by the time you get something this big running across what's on our screen now, running across some of those field hockey or soccer fields, particularly with the spring that we have here and the moisture over by that wooded area and where the score box is, I'd be I like the idea of the wider turf tires and the wings and things like that.
Yeah.
When John brought this to me, and we had a number of conversations on it and in discussions, and the multi-use of it, as I have gone through this and talked through this, the amount of pallets that we move throughout the year, and the fact of the men in the staff having to unload 2-3 rows of material, then pull the pallet, then load it back up. The fact of being able to have a bucket and the snow blower to be able to move, still going to have, you're only eliminating one plow truck, correct, John? We're still going to have
Correct.
2 plow trucks over here, 1 plow truck at Townsend, still a plow at the bus garage. So the ability to get into some of those locations and assist and move some snow a distance will assist in some of those big events. But I agree, we're still going to have to contract in the big events. I agree with you, Paul. We're still going to need to have dedicated mowers. That machine that we bought way back in the day, that 12 foot
span,
that truly made a huge difference. And we have multiple mowers dedicated to multiple fields.
Mhm.
So this is just one tool to allow us to get up. We have to change some practice. The skid steer, we do not have what we need to be able to safely be moving pallets off of trucks as they come in. So if we don't make this move, then that's okay. We're just gonna have to address it with process or practice to make sure that we're not putting people in harm's way. The reason why we brought it tonight this early is because we've got 2 years. We've got this year and we've got next year. Part of what we did with the tightening and closing off of purchasing for this year is all the O&M equipment money that was budgeted for this year, we still have. We didn't spend it. So we've got equipment money for this year that we could take into account. And then we've got next year, of course, we could take into account and end of the year surplus or whatnot. So we just wanted to have the conversation to get the feeling and direction of the board this early. If you give us a positive direction on this, then Meg and John and I will go to work as far as now, what's the best direction for us to go? It could be that we find not a new piece of equipment, that we find a used piece of equipment of the same category, almost new. It could be that we piece this out a little bit, that we buy a tractor one year and we buy attachments and details another year, the following year, because we're so tight in fiscal years. So this will just give us some flexibility if you tell us, yes, let's go ahead and move in this direction. And please note that next month, either facilities or full board or both, we'll have a 5-year O&M equipment plan to be reviewed for the board.
I have another question. The skid steer being much smaller and easier to maneuver, where would we house this? Do we have room to put this someplace? I mean, if you're going to spend that much on a piece of equipment, you certainly don't want to be leaving it outside.
John, you're muted.
There. The doors are 8-foot doors that are in the shop area out back where we keep all the grounds equipment. And the John Deere is 94 inches. And I believe the Kubota is also 94 inches with a cap. And that would be the big thing, is to keep them inside. I even thought, if it would, before we spec'd out how tall they were and everything, we could use one of the shops, like the ag shops, or the Lamrou's old shop, to keep it in, during bad weather and stuff like that. And because they have the 12-foot doors.
The other element that I would like to explore if we go down this road for our students would be a tractor safety course. Since we have a tractor of a little bit bigger grade, we may be able to add that to our curriculum.
Two other quick questions for you. With this 4660 or 4066, will that pick a ton with those loaders?
Yes.
Okay.
I believe the 4066 has a 27 or 2,800 pound lift capacity. Is that correct, Greg?
I don't have a brochure in front of me, but I could look it up. I know that it definitely picks a ton safely, Kevin.
Yeah.
Link arms show 2,500 pounds.
Yep.
Okay. Typically, you don't receive anything by freight that is more than a ton per pallet, typically. So that would cover that.
And
the other question that I would have for you is, you got the 55,000 on this thing, which honestly sounds a little low. So for what I would have guessed these are, have you explored the, which is good shopping around, I'm not knocking on that. I'm just, has any of these been chased through like OGS or off-state bid contracts, or is this just through calling the vendors and getting price quotes?
This has been calling vendors and getting state bid price on them. They're 12 to 13,000 below retail so far, as what I've seen on the most of them.
I know in the past we really haven't dabbled around too much with the OGS and federal surplus, but I think it's definitely worthwhile to look into it on this.
Yep.
Okay.
Personally, if you can upgrade what you have to something that's going to be more feasible and multi-purposed, I like the fact that it's a cab machine, so you don't have all your electronics sitting out in the weather, even if it is outdoors or indoors. With a snow blower and stuff like that, there's aftermarket blowers. As much as I've been around different pieces of equipment, and John Deere makes a very good machine, Kubota makes a very, very good machine too. They're both, I think, pretty much neck and neck. It's going to come down to a bidding war with those two particular brands. But there's some aftermarket 3-point hitch blowers and stuff that I think could actually outlast both of them. It's just heavier. But those are things that can be chased when you get near the purchase. And I'm guessing this is set up with skid steer quick attach couplers in the front. This isn't drive out pins, right? This is
the Kubota is drive out pins. The John Deere is quick attach.
In my opinion, then that would be a drive out pin operation would be a deal breaker personally.
Mm-hmm.
I would not recommend anybody buying something that you like with that. When you're talking multiple attachments that you've got to remove the pins to put a bucket on it or a blade on it, it just changes your availability. But that's something that's you guys would have to chase. But
Yeah, they both of those brands have their good points, and they have points that aren't really. But the thing I like about the John Deere a little bit better, and Graydon, maybe you would know this since you own a 4066, is the snow blower is hydraulic. Any thoughts?
I don't have a snowblower on mine.
Okay.
I'd have to reserve judgment on a snowblower since I don't have one. But
yeah.
So if it's hydraulic driven, then it's not PTO driven, correct?
Correct.
Yeah. So
I have a hydraulic-driven snowblower on my skid steer, and it's very slow. But it's also old too, so
it's a good question to ask, John.
Yep.
We use the hydraulic driven blowers on some of our skid steers. So then you're going to have a high flow hydraulic pump on this tractor.
Yes.
And if you're used to using a PTO driven snowblower, in my opinion, and you go to a hydraulic driven snowblower, you're going to be extremely disappointed because they are not compatible with one another.
Okay. And that's a good, that's the type of answers I'm searching for, because I've only used PTO driven implements pretty much, other than rear 3-point hitch mount implements. Right. So, there's a road that we won't go down.
Well, even if you went with a blower, though, I would suggest that you could still look at a 3-point hitch blower, and then something like this, put a plow on the front of it where you could plow it. And once you got it over next to the edge of the curb, you don't have to go switch attachments. You turn the tractor around, you put the blower back down, and you get rid of your windrow. I mean, you can, and it also gives you weight with it being, again, I'm taking assumption that this is a 4-wheel drive tractor, not 2-wheel.
Yes. 4-wheel.
So I mean, I think I like the track you guys are on. I just be careful with some of the details so you don't get something to be disappointed in, I guess. And I think there'd be something definitely be willing to give you a hand with if you needed it or whatever. And but I would, in my experience, I would stay away from the hydraulic driven blower personally.
Okay.
And out of experience with a snow blower on our tractors, the snow really almost has to be ideal to have it work properly. Otherwise, you tend to start plowing because it just gets the job done quicker sometimes.
If it's a real wet snow, then that's the case.
Yeah.
But I mean, the snow that we've had the last couple of times hasn't been that bad. It's just if you have a rain event that follows it or something. But
we all agree they're headed down the right path. Just sort it out.
Yep. So, and do me a favor though, if you do get it and it's got a 94-inch height on it, don't put it in a 96-inch door.
Yep.
2 inches clearance is just not enough. Not enough.
Agreed.
Without letting the air out of the tires.
Yeah, let 2 pounds air out.
Those buses at the bus garage missed by like this much.
I know, and all you need is a door that didn't go up all the way, and you've got a maintenance issue.
Okay, so I'm hearing right, move forward. And thank you. I got a number of notes here from that discussion. That was very helpful. And we'll keep you informed when we decide how we're going to proceed. I really don't know. We're going to we'll talk a little bit more about it tomorrow night, even in our budget workshop. But it really depends on how things work out numbers wise. In equipment, there's only so much that you can do in equipment category in a year. We still have the music risers. We're trying to figure that piece of it out for that room to see if we can't do something there, as we discussed when we put that room back together. We have not put those old risers back in there. They're still stored down in the tech room. So we're trying to figure out what newer material we could put back in there instead. So more to come. Thank you very much for that. Okay, John, you can exit now.
Okay.
Okay,
Thank you, everybody.
Yeah.
Have a good night, John.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. See ya.
All right, Corey, were there any correspondence?
No, we do not.
And no additions to the agenda, correct?
Correct. No additions.
All right, so we are up to number 7, the consent agenda. We have the declared surplus. And this is on all the clothing. I believe I had questioned this and we got to follow up a little bit, but I think a lot of this clothing that is on surplus, if we could repurpose it somehow, and I know the district was going to look into that and see if maybe even our seniors or extra practice shirts, anything.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. It's supposed to be a mixed bag. Typically what happens is you push it down from one sport to another within it, varsity to JV to modified. You use them as practice shirts, use them for whatever you can use them for. It looks like some of this is bowling and tennis that we haven't had in a while, and cheer we haven't had in a while. So I'll pull together a group and we'll have conversations and see if, as part of our discussions, maybe this is something the varsity club would like to take on. Maybe this is something that every year the senior class wants to take on. And any year there's athletic type material, they want to take that on as a project and have the fundraiser go toward their class or toward their club. So
one thing I was thinking about too is, I hate to just make it a free for all and give it away. And somebody I think mentioned auction or something like that. I mean, there's no better auction place than eBay, and I think we have an FBLA chapter, and e-commerce is not going away. And maybe, and I don't know what the implications are of that. I really don't. But something along those lines, because that way, it's not just giving it to seniors or something, and then seniors from either the class before or the class after, they just fall on an off year, so it inures to the benefit of somebody who was just luck of the draw. I'd rather see it be more of a deliberate process, and possibly something like eBay or any other means. I mean, it can be I don't know, something.
Well, that's where I was going with it too, Paul, is have a club take control over the selling portion.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe it's a combined, maybe it's FBLA learning the business function and operating the business function, and maybe varsity club or whatever area or function it comes from to do it. So I'll put together a high school group and we'll put our brains together and see if we can't come up with a process. Right. If we can get it in the hands of people and make a little bit of fundraising money and put it back into the hands of the students, that would be wonderful. As far as clubs or activities, we have the same situation that Rick's actually going to be coming with a proposal on in a while here regarding surplusing of electronics. There's a recycling outfit that you can put it through versus selling, and the recycling is you're not getting hardly any money back versus selling, which some schools do, devices, putting on certain level of software and selling them. And in some cases, as I said, in some cases they give the seniors, let them take their devices as the exit. So we're going to be coming with a proposal regarding selling devices as they hit surplus for very low cost. That would help our students, our community, to get access to very low cost units after their past their useful life, and put some money back into the tech budget for repair costs.
That's a good idea.
Rick brought that forward, and I've asked him to put together a proposal, and he'll be bringing that forward to the board here in the next few meetings. So I thank Rick for bringing that idea forward. So along those same lines, now we can look at it with other surplus material. That's the reason why I say that tonight.
Dr. McDonald, when you're looking though with the sports things, if there is extra after maybe fundraising or does go on, don't forget also our booster club could probably benefit from some of that stuff as well.
Absolutely.
So we always have that, you know what I mean? I don't know what their thing is, going on down there, but they have several different programs that may be able to benefit, from if things don't sell, instead of them just going to a Goodwill or something, checking with our local booster club first.
Agreed.
Definitely keeping it local, but again, to the extent, and I don't mean this to, in any negative way, but I think to the extent that we can benefit organizations that do affect a larger portion of the student body rather than just one particular class, I think that is better. So, I mean, and again, that way it takes it out of that kind of luck of the draw type of thing.
Right. Maybe a FBLA varsity club type
Yeah, combo.
little combo.
Yeah.
All right. And then we also have personnel appointment, Matthew Carlin as the long-term substitute teacher for physical education. And we have, let's see, emergency athletic recommendation. This was an emergency appointment due to a coach that was not able to coach at the time. And I think that's it for the consent agenda. Yes. Do we have a motion to accept the consent agenda?
I'll move it.
Arnie will second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Carried. We're up to 8 new business. We have several donations. We have $100 from Maurice and Patricia Judd to the class of 2021. We have $50 from the American Legion Auxiliary, Truman C. Toby, post number 32, in memory of David Edwards, to the Walton FFA chapter. We have $25 from Alan and Catherine Reynolds in memory of David Edwards, to the Walton FFA chapter. Do we have a motion to accept those donations?
I'll make the motion.
Second,
Second.
Second.
Either one.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Next, we have the award for the electricity supply bid. And these are fixed prices that have come in through the BOCES bidding process. Does anybody have any questions on these? If not, do we have a motion to accept the electricity supply bid?
Arnie will move it.
Second?
I'll
Second.
second it.
Okay, thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Carried. And we are up to administrative remarks. And we have the supervisor reports. And if there's no questions on them, we will go on to the superintendent remarks. Does anybody have, Rick's was quite lengthy. Does anybody have any, since he's on, any questions on that?
Just want to tell him thanks for doing a lot of work.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Amen.
Right. So we're up to you, Dr. McDonald.
Okay. We talked about the O&M equipment. We talked about the 5-year plan. This is something that we're gonna try to put these 5-year plans in place anywhere we can for strategic planning, so that we can see them and discuss them and move them forward. High school is moving. This is fresh off the presses. It'll be communicated tomorrow. Going to move to 4 days beginning next week. We did figure that out, and that actually came from we were in a shared decision-making meeting, and I think it was Ellen Neri who said, hey, have we thought about this, looking at this with the second semester starting, the schedule change? And I said, you know what, if this works, you get a star. I got to come up with a star for Ellen Neri, because we looked at it and it worked.
Nice.
A lot of work went in, and again, everybody working together on it, both principals sharing the space, and then O&M, food, transportation, it's just seamless. So we'll get those back. That'll move us to 544, and we still have 80 some kids that are remote 6 through 12. So we will hold at the 4-4 in the middle school high, with that Wednesday being a day to make sure we can reach out as much as we can. We are going to start this quarter in the next couple weeks, really mining down and identifying what the need is for those students to be full remote. and having conversations and starting to transition people back if it's not COVID related, but it's some other reasoning, non-COVID, non-health related. We're going to try to transition people back to one at a time, back to full remote as much as we can between now and June. And then I'll have a proposed process that I will review before the end of the year of how we will reset 0 for remote, 100% everybody in come September. And then people can apply if they have a concern for the remote. So we'll reverse it. Where it was open before, we'll close it, we'll make them apply. So we'll have that in place by then. This is, to me, is exciting, outstanding. If you had told me in July that we'd be 544 in March, beginning of March, I couldn't have seen it, but here we are.
It is exciting.
I'm very proud of it. 3 through 8 testing and Regents exams. You may get wind of this a little bit. There's been a lot of conversations. The federal government has a waiver process, and before the change of administration, they said, you're not doing waivers, you have to test. So New York State put in a waiver anyway and started going through the process. With a change of administration, they're hoping to be a change of opinion on that. The new administration said, we're not doing blanket waivers. So they want specific waivers. Still not out of the woods yet, in my opinion. New York State was still going through the process of putting together their specific waiver. So that is going there. The federal government right now is still holding firm. We'll see what comes out of it. It may be that 3-8 testing occurs, but with parameters and with flexibility. There's not going to be any remote testing. It'll only be in person. So anybody who, I don't know what that means. If they're remote, they don't take. I don't know exactly what that would look like. And they also are saying if we have to do the 3-8, there's going to be certain Regents assessments that we have to do as well, because there's certain Regents assessments that tie directly to the accountability at the federal level. So we don't know yet what's going to occur. New York State is committed to only doing the tests that are absolutely mandated by the federal government. So there could be 4 Regents exams out of the 8 or 10 or whatever number there is. Only the ones that the federal government forces New York State to do is what we're being told at a maximum. So more to come. I think you're going to see this hit the media more and more and more. The information on the Regents assessment just came up just before this meeting. We got an email on it. So that's hot off the presses. So tomorrow, that's going to be a media blast. So you're going to see it everywhere. So I want to make sure you're well informed this evening. And I believe that is it for my notes for this evening. That's
before we move, I've had a couple people ask me, and I don't have a succinct answer. So Mike or Dr. McDonald, I'll ask you to maybe address it, and people can just see. What's keeping us from going 5-5-5?
What's keeping us from going 5-5-5 in the high school for that 5th day would be a combination of capacity and class sizes, but which we may be able to work out with some spillover rooms, so to speak, that we've been doing anyway. But more importantly, we've got 80 remote kids that we do not have the ability to get access to and make sure that they're okay. So we got 80 in the 6 through 12. We've got the difference being we've got 27 in K5, 3 per grade level, 4 per grade level, 5 per grade level. That's much different than 80 in 6, 7, 8 sections a day. So it is quite a load that we need to attend. If we get that number down to where it was reasonable enough that we could, and they were being successful out of that population, then we could have it be that it's the virtual and it's their responsibility to get what they get and reach out for help. But that's not our reality right now. We just 80, you figure 80 out of 480 students. So that's a large percentage of our population right now that's full remote. So almost a grade level. Actually much bigger than some of our grade levels.
Well, it's a 6th. So, I mean, that is on average a grade level.
But really that's it. That's one of the reasons why we can't have that hold us back in September.
Right.
So we've got to make sure that we take care of that as not as an option.
No, and I agree. I mean, and it's the upper grade levels. So those are kids who are learning from home, presumably without a parent over their shoulder or anything like that, additional responsibility or you know, that required support at home, as opposed to elementary where they need, you know, they would need more supervision. So whether it be from, you know, parent, guardian, or caregiver. So no, I think it's important that we have the elementary and that we're pushing to get more in-person days at the high school. So thank you.
Yeah, moving to 4 is definitely a
Yeah.
benefit.
Oh yeah. And I don't want you to think that I'm not grateful for that. I want, you know, there are people asking questions and you can handle that far better than me. You saw me fumble through the policy thing. So
I didn't mean to put you on the spot.
poorly, Graydon.
Vote Corey.
All the time, early and often.
The number of, if you remember, it was just not that long ago before we started making the transition of days back, that we were really talking and concerned about the mental health and the social emotional welfare and the crisis and the number of them that were there. And we brought back that 3rd day, started dropping off. We brought back a 4th day of middle school, started dropping even lower. Bring back. So, I mean, it has a direct correlation when you have kids in person and having access and having that social time with their peers and also with the adults. So it certainly has shown, if we ever needed a research study, we certainly can show that. So it's much needed.
Yep, I agree. All right, so we do have a need for executive session for the purpose of discussing a matter leading to the future employment of a particular person. Dr. McDonald, do you anticipate action being taken on this when we come out?
No, I do not.
Okay, so I would like to invite Mr. Hoover in with us. And do we have a motion to enter into an executive session?
I'll
move it.
Okay, second, Graydon and Kevin.
Sounds good.
And all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. And I will ask now for a motion to go back into regular session and an adjournment.
I'd make that motion.
And second, Graydon, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Okay. We'll see you in a bit.